Hey everybody, Gina here with AJ Business Solutions. So welcome to creating a wedding brand that converts. So full disclosure, this was supposed to be a recording of a live webinar that I just did. However, I had some major technical difficulties. So any of you that were supposed to come weren't able to get in. I am so sorry. It was so frustrating because I had a huge amount of people that RSVP'd. But anyways, so this is all the information now. You can kind of watch it at your leisure. So I'm going to jump right in here. And I'm going to first of all just really quick talk about my pet peeve, which is you sign up for a webinar and it's all about someone trying to sell you something. So I want to assure you this is just all 100% valuable information. However, I do offer some amazing services. So I'll tell you about those if you're interested at the end. If not, you can hop off the video. So I do want to tell you, first of all, just a little bit about myself. So as I mentioned, my name is Gina Ludwig. I started my first wedding business, Here Comes the Bride, about 29 years ago. I had no money, no experience, but I became obsessed with learning everything I could about business. And I was able to build a high multi six figure business, servicing over 600 weddings a year across the country. And then I started doing business consulting. I really did have such a passion for business. And I started having people ask me how I was growing my business. So I started doing consulting and I loved that. But I eventually phased out the hair and makeup services to focus on the consulting. And also, we offered hair accessories, which actually Hair Comes the Bride is still in business today with the hair accessories. So in 2018, everything changed. My husband passed away suddenly. I had two kids at home, no life insurance, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt that he left me that I didn't know about. I mean, shame on me for not knowing. But my focus obviously became scattered. I was preoccupied with trying to pull my life together after losing my husband. And for the first time in my career and obviously my life, I was struggling big time. So I was just starting to pull everything back together, and then COVID hit and almost completely destroyed everything I had built. So to say it was the most difficult time in my life is definitely an understatement. But the good news, and why I'm sharing this with you, is ultimately, obviously, it was not easy at all. But I went back to basics and I created a brand new business model and built a second multi six figure business in a brand new industry in under 3 years. And that's AJ Business Solutions that I run now. We offer social media, websites, virtual assistants, and consulting. And I did it using the information I'm going to share with you today. That's why I wanted to share kind of my story with you. Now, obviously, this is just one piece of the puzzle. There are four main pillars of business that I talk about. And trustworthiness, that's what this webinar is all about. That is your brand. Efficiency is your systems. Visibility is going to be your marketing. And growth is your scalability. And I'm super excited because I've got a book coming out March 2026. So, like I said, this webinar is all about trustworthiness or your brand. Efficiency is your system. So, this book is all going to be about visibility or marketing. And then next month, you may be watching this video past then, but if you're not, next month I'm doing another free webinar, step-by-step guide to marketing your wedding business on March 5th. So if you happen to be watching this video after that, definitely follow us on Instagram and our website. We do lots and lots of free education. So I'm going to start out by just talking briefly about what is a brand. So a brand is everything that makes up your business. It's really all about, like I said, that trustworthiness. And it's all about answering the ultimate question, which is, why should someone choose you above everyone else? So my framework, what I'm going to talk about, it's my 13 P's, 13 elements that will help answer this question. And yes, there are 13. There's a lot, but these are all the little aspects of your brand, everything that makes up your brand. So the more clearly and confidently you can define and articulate these elements, the easier it will be to create a successful brand that consistently converts. So I say the easier it will be, but this stuff is not easy. I get that. So the harsh reality, the world has changed a lot. We all know that. Attention spans are at an all-time low. Trust is at an all-time low. It's the era of overpromise and underdeliver. People are frustrated and jaded because they've been overpromised and underdelivered too. And the marketplace is oversaturated. And a big part of that is because of this boom of new businesses since COVID. In 2023, it was the highest boom on record, and it's still continuing. So, this can actually be a golden opportunity for you because most wedding pros don't have business experience and aren't business minded. And I don't mean that to sound shady, but it's just the reality. Most people are craftspeople. I love to do flowers. I'm going to be a florist. I love to do hair and makeup. I'm going to be a bridal stylist. They don't really have that business experience and they're not business minded. So if you're watching this video, kudos to you because that means that you are more business minded. You really do care about creating a successful business. So most of them, they're not business minded and they don't know this information that I'm going to share with you. And those that do aren't taking the time to implement it. So little tough love time. Anyone that works for me knows or works with me knows that I do really like to tell it how I see it because I feel like beating around the bush is not helping anyone. And I really love my clients and I want them to be successful. This shit is not easy. And I'm not going to give you the 13 elements and then everything is smooth sailing. That's one of my soapboxes is this whole like secret weapon. Do this and it's going to be easy. Nothing is easy. This shit is hard. So it takes time and hard work to figure this out. And it really does come down to how bad you want it. How much work are you willing to put in? So people will often ask me, how I've been able to build businesses. Obviously, the framework that I'm sharing with you is a big, big component of that. But really, the main thing that I tell them is tenacity and resilience, because without that, without being able to get up after you've been knocked down over and over and over and over and over again, none of this stuff really matters. So before we jump into the 13 P's or those 13 elements, I want to talk to you about why people price shop, why they ghost you. And this does go hand in hand with what I'm teaching. So it really comes down to part of it, a big part of it is the paradox of choice. Too many choices create overwhelm. Overwhelm reduces confidence. And when confidence drops, people stop choosing on value and start choosing on price. And this is especially true when consumers are faced with what I call the sea of sameness. Everyone looks and sounds the same. So, creating a successful brand means defining and articulating the 13 elements I'm going to share with you so that you can stand out as the clear and obvious choice. So, let's talk about that sea of sameness. Imagine you go to buy a car and the only option is a blue Nissan. The color's the same, the options are the same, everything is the same except the price. So of course you're going to buy based on price if everything is exactly the same. And that is how couples are viewing you if you aren't able to confidently answer the question, why should they choose you above everyone else? So imagine if you're the only black Mercedes in this sea of Nissans, you automatically stand out as a brand who is unique. Now, of course, not everyone is going to want a black Mercedes, but for those who do, or at least don't want a Nissan or don't want what everyone else has, you are going to stand out as the obvious choice. And price becomes less of a factor or not a factor at all. So everyone's unique with different needs, wants, values, personality and style, expectations, pain points. And the goal is to give people options that are in line with their needs, wants, values, personality and style, expectations, and pain points. Most people are not doing this work, you guys. So there are still going to be a lot of Nissan. And that's actually good for you. You want to be that black car, that red car, that yellow Mustang, that silver car. You still, that sea of Nissans is helping you when you can stand out and give people options and give them what they're specifically looking for. So this again becomes your golden opportunity to stand out to your ideal client. So now that you understand the psychology let's go ahead and get to work. Let's jump into those 13 P's, those 13 elements that I have built this framework on. So the very first one is your people. I know you've heard this before. Your people are your ideal client. You've heard it a million times because it's really, really important that you know who your people are. And hint, it's not anyone getting married. So some things you want to think about with your ideal client. What are their needs? What are their must-haves or non-negotiables? So that's typically as simple as your service. I need a planner, right? Then they have their wants. What are they hoping to find but is not required? So I need a planner, but I really want a planner who A, B, and C. I need a DJ, but I'm really hoping I can find a DJ who can A, B, and C. Their values, what do they care about? What is important to them? So that could be in general as people, or what's important to them. What do they value in a business, a planner that they're going to work with, a venue, a caterer? Their personality and style. So who are they as people? So old school business, this is what we kind of talked about, demographics. That's what everything used to be focused on. Like what is their age? What is their gender? What is their socioeconomic, their education? Not saying those things don't matter. However, now we're looking at people more as whole people, their personality and their style. So that's definitely part of who your ideal client is. Expectations. So, what do they expect of you and the process? And this is going to vary based on the service, based on where you're at, as far as like, are you a more low or mid range brand? Are you a luxury brand? Obviously, for instance, those luxury clients, the more you charge, the expectations are a little bit higher. So, you really need to know what your people expect from you. Personal pain points. So, what problems are they facing in planning? What problems are they facing finding the right DJ, planner, venue, caterer, all those things? But you also need to go one step deeper, especially now in that sea of sameness and oversaturation. You want to look at those industry pain points. So, what problems are they facing within the industry? So, I know for me personally, all of my services, literally, from consulting to my social media, my websites, virtual assistants, they are all based on and built around people's industry pain points. They have come about because I've had client after client complain to me about other people, other website designers, other social media managers. And I asked them, I'm inquisitive, like, well, tell me what was clunky about their process. Tell me what you didn't like. And I found ways to solve those problems. So I'm going to give you for each of these some questions that you can ask yourself. If you're watching this on my website, then right below this video, you can see download PDF workbook, I think it says. All of this and these questions are going to be in that download if you want to take some time and work through this. But you want to ask yourself, who are your people? Your ideal client is not everyone. What are their needs? What are their non-negotiables or must-haves? What do they want? What are they hoping for, even if it's not required? What do they value? What is the most important to them when making decisions? What personal pain points are they facing during this process? What expectations do they have of you and the experience you provide? And what frustrations or pain points are they experiencing within the industry as a whole? So my next P is position. So this is what unique position do you hold in your field? So this could also be known as your niche or your specialty, basically what makes you unique. So this could be things like your style and aesthetic, who you serve, or a specific unique location. We do beach weddings, our aesthetic, we do hair and makeup, and we specialize in a very minimal look. These are all things that can be your position. Now, this is the hardest and scariest element, but also the most effective. So, the reason this is so hard and scary is because people don't want to pick a lane. They're afraid to alienate people, they're afraid to lose business. And I'm telling you right now, there's an old saying, super old school saying in business, niche to be rich. And it could not be more relevant. There is just that sea of sameness. I mean, consumers are begging for some unique options. They're begging for someone who gives them exactly what they're looking for. So I know it's hard and scary, but it's something that I really want you to think about. A strong position immediately takes you out of the sea of sameness. You immediately become that black Mercedes amongst all those blue Nissans. It's definitely the most powerful way to instantly instill trust. If you can give someone exactly what they're looking for, that whole like, oh my God, I didn't even know someone like you existed that specializes in this. This is exactly what I need. Instantly instills trust, and that's when you can really charge a premium. So I want you to think about this. Here's a little example. I just want to be clear that I do not work with this company. It's anything but great. I just really admire their branding, their position. So this is someone who has really gone all in with a position or a niche of inclusivity. Um, I'm going to also talk about this. This also kind of comes under the whole your perspective and what you care about. But I just wanted to kind of give you an example of a strong brand position. So here's some of the questions to ask yourself about position. What unique position do you hold in your field? What is your niche or specialty, if any? Who do you specifically serve? What style, aesthetic, or approach are you known for? What makes you different from others offering similar services? If a client compared you to others in your space, why would they choose you? If you were to niche, if you don't have a niche or specialty right now, what would be your specialty and what fears are holding you back from picking a lane? Um, so I wanted to also point out with this that it's really important. Another kind of old school business saying that I love and I use a lot is if you confuse them, you lose them. So when we talk about like what style, aesthetic, or approach are you known for, it's really important that that is consistent across all touch points with your client, your website, your social media, your marketing materials, all of that. So, on to the next P, which is process. So, process is all about your systems, efficiency, convenience, customer service. How easy is it for people to work with you, basically? Do they have to chase you or jump through hoops? Is your process easy, convenient, and client centered? Do you get back to people quickly? Are your policies and procedures clear? Do you have automated systems, online booking, online contracts, and payments? And all of this has always been important. Process has always been important, but it's becoming more and more and more important because of what I call the Amazon effect. So we are really with Amazon, Uber Eats, these kind of services, these convenient services, we are really being groomed as a society to have different expectations, right? So I don't know any other service where you can go on your phone, order a $5 hairbrush, have it delivered to your front door for free, use it, take it back, and get all your money back. No questions asked. I mean, that is like the epitome of convenience and customer service. So that's the kind of level that people are starting to expect. So things like not having online booking, God forbid, having someone have to download a contract and sign it and scan it back to you, like things like that are no longer negotiables. Those are things that like need to be done in your business for you to keep up. So, some of the questions to ask: is your process easy, clear, and client centered? How easy is it for someone to inquire, book, and work with you? Do you respond quickly and communicate clearly? Are your policies, procedures, and expectations clearly outlined? Where does your process feel confusing, slow, or frustrating for clients? What changes can you make to improve the overall client experience? So I don't want to call my clients out or throw them under the bus. I love, love, love my clients, but I do want to just, under this kind of process, I want to talk about a client that I was working with that um, really they just had so many hoops that their clients had to jump through. They had so many things in their policies and procedures that were so brand centered. You know, they had an extra charge to get there early and an extra charge to get there late and an extra charge to do this, and they won't do this and an extra charge for this. I mean, it just became so confusing and so hard for clients to work with them that it's like I wasn't surprised that they weren't booking as much as they were. So that was something that we worked on together to streamline those processes for them. So some of the questions these are the questions. So yeah, look at those questions in your business and see how you can potentially improve your process. So the next P is all about presentation. So, oops, I went backwards on accident. Presentation. So this is where things get tricky, okay? Because I'm going to give you all these elements. And the first step is you have to confidently define these 13 brand elements. But then above and beyond that, you also need to be able to clearly, quickly, and effectively communicate them. So, how you present these elements, presentation is basically your marketing message. So, we're going to talk about, and I'm going to give you some examples of client centric versus brand centric, specific versus generic, and emotional versus logical. And I can tell you, I don't know another industry that I see this problem so much of these brand centric, generic, boring, fluffy messages, right? I just did an Instagram post. It's like, for the love of God, please stop using the word unforgettable. Like, because no one is lying awake at night, waking up in a cold sweat thinking like, oh my God, I hope I don't forget my wedding. So that's what this is all about, is that marketing message. So I'm going to give you some examples. So here's an example of kind of a generic and brand centric marketing message. We create events that celebrate love and connection in a way that feels meaningful and true to you. And this is actually, to be honest with you, a pretty good marketing message compared to what I usually see, compared to the we create unforgettable moments. This isn't horrible, but it's still not great. So what we want to do is we first of all want to make this more specific. So let's say we're talking about a planner who works with multicultural clients, right? So a good specific marketing message would be something like, we specialize in navigating multiple cultures, traditions, and family expectations to create weddings that honor them all without compromise. That just takes it up a notch. However, it is still brand centric. We specialize in. So we're going to turn that, make one little small tweak and make this specific and client centric. So navigating multiple cultures, traditions, and family expectations can feel overwhelming. Your wedding deserves to honor them all without compromise. So it's more putting the focus on, a client reading this and like, yes, it does feel overwhelming. It puts more the focus on the client. I'm going to give you one more here. Generic and brand centric. We believe your day should reflect your personal style and traditions, which is why our service is designed with you in mind. So lots of kind of fluff and buzzwords here, not really anything too specific. So to make this more specific, honoring culture isn't a trend to us, it's personal. That's why our approach is rooted in care, intention, and deep respect for every tradition involved. So much better. So we're just going to do one little tweak and we're going to make this more client centric. So honoring your culture isn't a trend, it's personal. You're putting it more on them. You're saying to them, it's about not about us, it's about you. Your wedding should reflect that with care, intention, and deep respect. So again, just a small little tweak that kind of makes it more client centric. So presentation, here's some questions you can ask to help to refine your presentation or marketing message. How clearly do you communicate what you do and who you serve? Is your messaging client-centered or focused on you? Is your messaging specific or generic? Does your presentation speak to emotions, logic, or both? So that's another thing I didn't bring up, but you can kind of notice that in those, I'm not talking about the marketing message isn't, logic or logistics. It's not like, we do this and this and this. It's more kind of based on those emotions because people do purchase on emotion and connection and then reason with logic. Where does your message feel unclear, inconsistent, or safe? So again, this is kind of like I was talking about before, that if you confuse them, you lose them. You really need to be consistent with all of your touch points that your clients have. And what is one change you could make right now to improve your messaging? So that's where in my next seminar, and that one will be recorded too. So if you're watching this after March 5th, go to my website or email me and I'll send you the link. But this is going to be up on my website, probably YouTube as well. But if you're watching it before March 5th, definitely sign up for this webinar. And I'm going to go into that marketing message in a little bit more detail. So the next P in my 13 P elements is packaging. So this is what most people think about when they think of brand. It's the aesthetic of your business. It's the logos, colors, website, and social media. As I mentioned before, people have very low attention spans. They make snap judgments because they can. The wedding industry has become oversaturated and couples have more choices than ever. So it's much easier for them to come to your website and immediately be like, nope, nope, not for me. There's too many choices. Let me see who else is out there. So first impressions really, really, really do matter a lot. And it's not just about looking pretty. It's about looking professional, trustworthy, and like you give a shit, to be honest with you. So again, here's the thing too, is like, oh, my website doesn't matter, but you don't know that. You don't know how many people have seen your website, have seen your social media and bounced right off. Although actually you do know that if you know the analytics of your website, what is your bounce rate? Do you have a lot of people coming to your website and bouncing off? That is sending a clear message to you that like, I am making a bad first impression. So I am going to get on my soapbox for just a second with a little tough love. Bear with me. Your website and social media is the first touch point for most people. You cannot half-ass these things, people. They are so important. And I understand that these things are an investment. This is in no way a plea to try to get me to work with you. Find someone within your budget that works for you, but make this happen. Find the money or figure this shit out. So I recently had a client or potential client who I was talking to about redoing their website, and she finally came to the decision that, you know what, she just could not afford to make the investment right now. I told her, of course, no problem. I completely understand. As a matter of fact, I'll even give you a discount on one of my templates. It comes with a video to show you how to do it yourself. And she kind of, exasperatingly, oh, no, I can't do it myself. I don't have time for that. And I'm like, girl, your website sucks. It's turning people away. Like, you got to pick one here. You got to either find the money or figure it out and do it yourself. So, anyways, that's my soapbox. I'll get off it now. So, questions to ask about your packaging. Do your visuals reflect the level of service you provide? Does your branding feel professional, intentional, and cohesive? Would a potential client trust your business at first glance? Do your website and social media clearly communicate professionalism and credibility? Where do your visuals feel outdated, inconsistent, or DIY? So, when I was saying figure it out and do it on your own, but you got to do it well. And that's why, like, I really feel like having a really good, beautiful template is the best place to start. And then try not to mess with the template too much. Like, really just switch out the images and the verbiage. Um, but if you're going to DIY, there's nothing wrong with that. I understand that. But just make sure you do it well. Okay. And then what changes could you make to better align your visuals with your brand? So the next P we're going to talk about is proof. Okay, so proof is all about the receipts. So it's things like training, years in business, publications, public appearances, reviews, past clients, famous clients, referrals, associates, people you work with, associations maybe that you belong to, and your social media. So if you don't have some of these things, if you've not been in business for a really long time, if you don't have famous clients, you don't have a lot of reviews, you can actually use useful and valuable information as proof as well. So things like a blog post, things like free downloadable content, checklists, stuff like that, which I'm going to talk about in my new book coming in March. So if you can get into someone's head and you can answer their questions before they even ask them through a blog post, through this content, that acts as proof. It's like they can read that blog post and be like, oh, damn, like this person really knows their stuff. Like this is exactly the kind of stuff I was wondering. But little caveat on that as well, just like your website and social media, you can't half-ass it. Please, please, please do not plug in a topic to chat GPT and let it write a blog post for you. Like really, you've got to take the time and really answer those very specific questions that your very specific ideal client has. Because just as much as they can go on and be impressed, they can go on and feel like it's a waste of time. So, anyways, proof is all about the receipts. But here's the most important thing about proof is that you never, ever, ever lead with proof. And I see this is the other thing besides that kind of brand centric, generic messaging is I see people constantly leading with proof, right? Like we've been in business for 25 years. At the end of the day, these things help establish credibility, but really people want to know what's in it for them. Like, I don't give a crap you've been in business for 25 years. Maybe you've been doing a crappy job for 25 years. So what I want to know and what you need to articulate to your clients is how does that translate, right? I've been in business 25 years, which means that I have navigated every single type of family dynamic that you can imagine. I am a master at negotiation and negotiating family dynamics. I've been in 25 years in business, so I know every single venue in this area, even the little ones that are tucked away. I know the best times of year to book them. I know every single vendor in this area. I know their personalities. I know their style. I know how to match them with clients. So those are the kind of things clients care about, not how long you've been in business. So these things should, of course, be sprinkled throughout. For sure, you should highlight them, but do not make them the center of your brand. It's very cool, be very quiet and demure about it. So some of the questions to ask about proof: what proof do you currently have that supports your expertise? What experience, training, or background matters to your ideal client? What proof feels most relevant and valuable to them? So is your clientele, and this is not being shady, but is your clientele kind of more bougie, and like what really matters to them is that you have famous clients and they don't really care what school you went to or how many years you've been in business? So really it's going to depend on, again, what feels most relevant and valuable to your client. And again, where are you relying on proof that doesn't really matter to your client? How can you better highlight the proof that builds trust? So this is another thing too that I see sometimes when I redo a website. I just recently did a website and I just kind of stumbled upon this social proof that, there's a lot of brands that have been the best of the not before, but this client had it 8 years in a row. Like that is serious clout. And that was not anywhere on her current website. So did we lead with that? Is that on her hero section? Well, actually it is very small, but yeah, but you want to sprinkle those things in. You want to do them effectively and efficiently. You don't want it to be all about you, but those are the kind of things that, again, signal that credibility and instill trust. So make sure those things are highlighted. And then again, are you leading with proof to define your brand or using it to support it? You should always use it to support it. Do not lead with the proof. Our next P is promise. So promise is all about the burden of risk. So let me explain that to you. In every transaction between a business and a consumer, actually even between people and relationships, but in this case, we're talking about consumer and business, there is a burden of risk. So typically your client is risking their time, their money, disappointment, and frustration, right? So how do you take this burden off of your clients? That's what a promise is all about. So definitely the most effective way is a guarantee, right? Like, I guarantee you're going to love it or you don't pay. Now, I understand that's incredibly hard to do in the wedding industry. However, when I ran Here Comes the Bride, we did actually guarantee our hair and makeup trials. Now, how were we able to do that? Number one, because I had such a rock solid brand. I had such rock solid, probably systems was the key ingredient to having that be so successful. I had such, you know, rock solid systems that my team, like, this is how we do it here, that our clients were just almost always happy. Now, did we have to give some refunds? Obviously, in 20 years, that happened a few times. However, the number of weddings that we were able to book because we were basically like, look, you don't like it, you don't pay. So yeah, maybe they were investing a little bit of time, but they weren't definitely risking that disappointment, that frustration, and that money. which usually money is the main thing they're worried about. So anyways, that is the ultimate promise, a guarantee. However, things like, free consultations also do help. Um, Not as much as a guarantee, of course, 24-hour emergency text line. So let's say, for instance, and I'm going to say this, I'm ruining my last line here, but these things have to be tangible. So you can't just say to someone, like, I promise I'm available all the time. Like, you can always reach me. But if you say to them, hey, look, here is my dedicated 24-hour emergency text line. Now, I know that's a lot to ask. No one wants to be working 24 hours a day. I'm just using this as an example. But that's a way that you can show them. Maybe that's only the week of their wedding or something like that. But that's something tangible that is going to help relieve that burden of risk of time and frustration for your client. Clear, streamlined, and outlined processes can also help with that burden of risk. So, like, for instance, with our social media, we give our clients, of course, like a feed preview. We show them what their feed's going to look like, what their captions are going to look like before they go live, right? So they're going to be able to see it. So that's part of our process. And that's also, kind of like a free preview. So you can also do this in the wedding industry physically or even virtually. So let's say you're a florist. You could potentially put together a little mini arrangement or bouquet to show someone before they book, or during your process, or you could do that digitally as well, like online. So anyways, that's just a couple ideas of promise. One of the things that we do for our clients, and this is another thing that was built on that industry pain point. So over and over and over, I heard clients that told me they had hired someone else to do their website. They didn't like it. They ran out of revisions because they gave them a limited amount, and they still did not like their website at all. So they ended up wasting thousands of dollars. So of course they're coming to me scared, right? So in order for me to take that burden of risk, I say to them, look, I don't care how long it takes me. I will do literally unlimited revision. Like, I will not let you launch this website until you absolutely love it. So that, again, that takes that burden of risk. Oh, thank God, I'm not going to lose more money. It's going to be what I love. So anyways, just another example of promise. And I kind of ruined this, but it has to be tangible to be effective. So again, you can't just promise someone, I promise you won't be disappointed. They've heard it before. It has to be something tangible. So the questions to ask for your promise: what fears or concerns might a client have before booking you? What are they risking? Time, money, or disappointment, or all three? What do you do to help them feel safe choosing you? Do you offer any guarantees, assurances, or risk reducing policies? How clearly is your promise communicated throughout the client experience? And where could your promise be more specific or tangible? So next we come to your personality. So presentation is what you say. Personality is how you say it. Authenticity, connection, it's basically your brand voice, right? So don't be afraid to speak directly to your people. So here's a few examples from our social media. As you haven't already noticed, I do love a good curse word. I love some profanity. Obviously, I don't get too crazy, but this is my personality. I'm a little bit more bold, a little bit more unapologetic. It's taken me a lot of work and a lot of therapy to get here. So I want to be able to be who I am. And so this is how it kind of shows in my branding. Now, that, of course, if that's not you, then that's not what you go with. You want to find your own personal brand personality. So here's some more examples. So let's go back to that clear, specific, client-centric, really good messaging. Honoring your culture isn't a trend, it's personal. Your wedding should reflect that with care, intention, and deep respect, right? Really good messaging. It's clear, it's specific, it's client-centric. But let's infuse a little bit of personality in there. So let's say you're more nurturing, connection-driven brand. Your messaging might be something like, honoring your culture isn't a trend, it's deeply personal. The traditions, people, and moments that shaped you have brought you to where you are today. Your wedding should feel like home, rooted in love and belonging. Ah, so beautiful, right? And you could actually even break these down. These could be several different marketing messages. The first one Honoring your culture isn't a trend, it's deeply personal, could be one place, and then your wedding should feel like home, rooted in love and belonging, could be somewhere else. But this is an example of that nurturing, connection driven messaging. The next one would be more like bold, unapologetic, which would be probably closer to my messaging. Honoring your culture isn't a trend, it's deeply personal. Your wedding doesn't need to make sense to anyone else. The only thing that matters is that it feels right to you. End of story. So even for me, I would probably put something like honoring your culture isn't a trend, it's personal AF or something like that. You get the point. It's just kind of infusing your personality into your brand messaging. So, some of the things to ask about your personality: how would you describe your brand voice? Does your messaging sound like you or like who you think you should be? Where are you holding back or playing it safe? If you are playing it safe, why? What fears are driving that? Is your brand voice consistent across your website, social media, and client communication? What would change if you allowed more of your true personality to show? And what can you do right now to incorporate those changes? So, I want to stop really quick too, because on the live webinar, someone had asked me about this and like, well, really, 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 how much should I lead with my personality? And I think it's going more and more and more to that authenticity. And I'm going to give you an example, because if you are truly yourself, now, of course, you've got to be smart enough to know that line of professionalism, right? But if you go too far over and you're censoring yourself, that's where you kind of get into trouble, and censoring yourself more in like your perspective or what you're talking about. So I actually had a social media client, and I was just my normal self, and did the consultation. She actually did end up booking her social media services, but literally immediately, like after her first round of socials, like she just came back with all this stuff that I was like, oh my gosh, where is this coming from? Like, this is not a good fit, right? So I ended up letting her know, I just really don't think this is a good fit. And she said something to me about the fact of like, I knew it wasn't a good fit when you made fun of me at our consultation. Now, I still am trying to figure out what she's talking about. Never in a million years. Yes, do I have a bold, kind of unapologetic personality? Absolutely. But I think I'm one of the most kind, empathetic, caring people that I know. So I'm not quite sure exactly what she thought I was making fun of her. But the point in telling you this story is that that person was obviously not my person, right? They were not an ideal client. So it was better to find out sooner than later than to have things get worse. So, anyways, that was the purpose of my story. I think definitely leaning in to your personality is really what's going to connect you to your ideal client. Okay, next we have perspective. So presentation is what you say, personality is how you say it, perspective is what you care to speak about. What is your perspective on things? What do you care about? What are your views and values? This could be in business or in your personal life. And this can be a large or small part of your brand. And it can also be your brand position, right? So here's those examples. The one I showed you, anything but gray. And then I just found, again, I didn't do this website or anything. I just found this brand online that works with focuses on sustainable wedding planning and design. So these are examples of someone that actually took their perspective and made it their position, right? But here's a few more examples. These are from a couple websites that I've done where they have some inclusivity, sections. So it's something that's their perspective. It's really important for them and important enough for them to talk about it. So they're adding it to their website, but it's not everything that their brand is about. Here's another one. Just kind of inclusivity. They just, this is the type of thing that just sends that message like you are safe here. So perspective, again, we talked about inclusivity, sustainability, but it doesn't even have to be something that big. It can also just be kind of personal views or opinions on something. Cultural respect and representation, authenticity and transparency, and in life and in business. I definitely like to think this is one of my perspectives in business. I'm very, very transparent with my clients. I'm very honest with them. Even something like, weddings should feel intentional, not performative. That's your opinion. And that's something, if it's something you're not afraid to share, that's going to be your perspective within your brand. True luxury isn't about how much you spend. The couple's opinion is all that matters, period. So this could be, again, a perspective that you could turn into a marketing message. And when that couple comes to you that has that loud, intrusive, opinionated family, and they're really looking to someone to help to mediate that, this is going to really resonate with them. Like, oh my gosh, yes, our opinion is all that matters. And this person is going to help make sure it stays that way. So here's a few more examples from our social media. Your business needs social media, but not at the expense of your sanity. Your doubt isn't truth. It's just the noise that shows up right before growth. You have enough toxic relationships in your life. Social media shouldn't be one of them. So even though we do social media, I know how crazy, insane social media is. I'm not trying to sell people on social media. What I am constantly doing is trying to find a way for them to do social media in a way that supports their business, but more importantly, supports their sanity. So that's one of our perspectives. Um, so, what beliefs or values guide how you run your business? What opinions do you hold about your industry? What do you care enough about to say out loud? Are you clearly sharing your perspective or avoiding it to appeal to everyone? If you are avoiding it, why? What fears are behind that? How could leaning into your perspective help attract the right clients? And what could you implement right now in your business to share your unique perspective? Products and services. So this one's pretty straightforward, but obviously this is a part of your brand. What products and services do you offer? Are your products and services top notch? How do they compare to others in your field? And this is where you want to be really brutally honest with yourself and ask, where could you improve? And what would it take to get you to the top? And really, one of the most important things about this element is that it's about always improving and keeping up with the trends in both business and the wedding industry. So you may have been in business for 25 years, but are you keeping up with the times? So some questions to ask yourself: what products and services do I currently offer? How do my offerings compare to others in my field? Where am I truly strong and where can I make improvements? What changes can I make immediately to improve my products and services? What long-term effects can I make to improve my products and services moving forward? Price. So price is a part of your brand, and this is probably the most common source of confusion and stress. What is your competition charging? And this is probably the most important. How do you compare? But that's not the important part. The important part is, when should you compare? So I see this all the time, constantly looking over your shoulder, left and right, up and down, and seeing what other people are doing. I see this when it comes to price, but I also see this in business in general. Like, well, this person's doing this, everyone's doing this. Well, a lot of them are doing it wrong. So when you're copying it, you're just copying it wrong. So anyways, here's the 2 times. For the most part, you should stay in your lane, eyes straight ahead. There are 2 times that you should be looking over your shoulder. One is when you're getting on the freeway, i.e., you're starting a new business. And 2 is when you're switching lanes. So if you're rebranding, if you're relaunching something, yeah, then it makes smart business sense to get a lay of the land and see what everyone else is doing very briefly, and then get back in your lane, because we all know what happens when you're distracted and you're looking over your shoulder too much. You're going to crash and burn. So that's my advice on, when you should compare. Okay, so back to price. Is your price in line with your brand? Are you, saying that you're a luxury brand? Or let's put it this way: do you have a DIY website, and yet your pricing are luxury pricing? You want to make sure that it's in line. Okay, where are you in your business journey? So that does not always dictate price, but it can. I mean, it's not very often that someone's going to be able to immediately jump into an industry and charge top dollar. However, they probably could if they followed my advice and nailed all of these elements. They probably could. But that sometimes does dictate, if you're just starting out and maybe your products and services aren't quite top notch simply because you don't have the experience yet, then your pricing might be a little lower. And this is one that some people don't talk about, but how bad do you need the money, right? So when I do consulting for clients, I'm going to give completely different advice to that single mom who's struggling and needs to pay her rent. My advice is going to be a lot different to her than to someone who's like, I'm doing pretty good. Like the bills are paid. I'm doing good. I just really want to, grow my business. So I'm going to give different advice on how much they should charge. I'm going to give different advice on their marketing tactics. So that's something to think about as well. And then this is probably one of the biggest questions I get. When should you raise or lower your pricing? So obviously, you don't ever want to go backwards. You really don't want to lower your pricing. If you're really, really struggling to book weddings, my recommendation, if you need to, if you are that single mom and you got to pay the rent, I would maybe offer some kind of discounts or specials very, very, very temporarily. But at that same time, be working your ass off and hustling to nail these 13 elements, get that brand on point, and then buy my book and learn how to market. But bottom line is, I would just really be doing everything I can to elevate your brand so that you can charge what you're worth. And when should you raise your pricing? So I get this one a lot as well. In my opinion, for the most part, if you're asking the question, it's probably not time, right? So if you're booked out, if you're in high demand, if you're being spread a little thin, that's a pretty clear indication it's time to raise your pricing. And the bottom line when it comes to pricing is price really is about supply and demand. So let's go back to that sea of sameness, right? There's a lot of supply out there, and they're all blue Nissans. So the market, you don't get to decide what you're worth. The market does. There's a lot of supply. So what do you need to do is you need to stop being a friggin' blue Nissan. You need to figure out how you can rise above the competition by standing out as someone who is very unique to your field and can solve very, very, very specific needs, wants, problems for your very specific client. So the bottom line with price is the better able you are to define and articulate your 13 brand elements, these elements I'm telling you, the more you can charge, period. So some questions to ask about your price. What are you currently charging? How does your pricing compare? Is your pricing aligned with the quality, experience, and results you deliver? Are you pricing from confidence or from fear? What would need to change for you to feel comfortable raising or adjusting your prices? So the next P we're going to talk about is perks. So perks are those little extras that go above and beyond. They can be expected or unexpected. It's that little touch-up kit from a stylist. It's that personalized playlist from a DJ. It's that posing guide from a photographer, a planner who brings a personal assistant, champagne and snacks at a bridal boutique. When I ran Here Comes the Bride, we sent every new bride who booked a little All About the Bride bedazzled hoodie sweatshirt. And they friggin' loved it so much that we would get brides who were referred by other brides who would ask about that hoodie. And not once, like a lot. They'd be like, "Are you going to send me that hoodie?" It was a really nice quality. And so it's just those little things. Another thing too, like right now with AGA Business Solutions, one of the little perks, and we offer a lot, but one of the little perks, like for our custom website clients, is we do a free training session when their website's done, and we record it so that they can make simple changes themselves. We want to empower them. We don't want them to have to be reliant on us. We're happy to help them if they want us to, but we don't want them to have to be dependent on us to make changes for them. So we offer them that free training session. So perks are all about making people feel special and showing them that you care. So again, you can say you care about your clients, but how? You need to show them that you care. So these are the kind of things that are obviously not required. They're not necessarily something that's going to make or break your business, but they do make an impact on people. And really, they are, though, an essential part of a luxury brand. So if you're in that luxury space, Luxury brands are all about the perks, baby. It's the reason why I could easily spend 60 bucks at the little massage place in the strip mall, but instead I spend 160 bucks at Burke Williams because I want that cucumber water, I want that fluffy robe, I want that aromatherapy, I want to sit in the spa. I feel special when I'm at the spa and I get all these little perks. So the massage is actually the same. I still go to the little cheapy one sometimes, and sometimes they give me a better massage, but I'm going to the spa because I want those perks. I want to feel special. So those are an essential part of a luxury brand. Excuse me. Okay, so questions you can ask yourself about perks. What small details make clients feel cared for or special? Sorry, I'm just pouring some water. Which perks are expected and which are unexpected? What do clients mention or remember after working with you? How do your perks support the experience you want to create? Do your perks align with your brand, or are they simply what everyone else is doing? What simple additions could elevate the client experience without overwhelming them? We're almost to the end here. The very last P is perception. Now, this is one you don't really have a whole lot of control over, but it's really important that I added it because your brand at the end of the day is not what you think it is. It's what others perceive it to be. So you could put all this work into creating a brand, but you need to make sure it hits. You need to make sure that others are perceiving it the way that you want. And you can often be the worst judge of your brand's perception. So this is where you might want to look for outside perspective with one really, really strong caveat, and that is be very, very selective. You don't want to ask just anyone, right? You don't want to ask those yes people in your life that are going to tell you what you want to hear. This is a great place to have some kind of a business coach or mentor, or a really trusted friend who you really respect their opinion. Or a really great place too is just a peer that you respect their opinion as well. Someone in the wedding industry, either in your in your field or in a different field, someone whose brand that you really admire and look up to. You can ask them for their opinion on this. So, perception, some of the questions. How do clients describe their experience working with you? What words or themes come up most often, feedback or reviews? Where does perception align with how you want your brand to be known? Where might there be a disconnect between intention and reality? Who could you ask for honest, constructive feedback about your brand? What small changes could you make to influence perception moving forward? So these are all important. There you have all my P's. So let's go through them really quick. People, position, process, presentation, packaging, proof, promise, perspective, personality, products and services, price, perks, and perception. So these are all important. I mean, when you're on your A game on all of these, when you are just like clear and confident and you know exactly why someone should choose you above everyone else, the sky's open, the angels sing, everything flows. It's beautiful. But if you had to focus on, you got to start somewhere. I would say start from the top, and these are kind of the most important are the ones in red. So your people, position, process, presentation, and packaging. And then when you have all that pulled together, that's where you want to kind of test that perception. But again, all of these are important. So I get it. This shit is hard. I just want to let you know, I don't, again, you're not going to be told this and all of a sudden it's going to be super easy. It takes looking inward, asking the right questions, and really overcoming some mindset obstacles. Huge part of business is mindset, like huge, huge, huge. And I always like to say it's hard to be brave when you're broke. So, and I'm not like saying you're broke, but like if you're struggling to get bookings, um, it's hard to be brave because you don't want to put yourself out there too much. Like, oh, if I'm too much of my own personality, like I'm a little rough around the edges. I don't know about that. I'm a little opinionated, or you don't want to put your perspective out there, or you don't want to choose a position. You don't want to niche or specialize because, like, oh, I don't want to alienate anyone. I'm so scared to death that like I'm not going to get work because I need to pay my rent. So the more you can overcome that and try to be as brave as possible, it does get a lot easier. And I'm telling you, it's crazy. Like once you get to that point where you are willing to just have a position, have a perspective, have a brand voice, that personality, and you see the response and you see that it actually helps get more bookings, it makes it a lot easier. But I get it. So if you want to follow us on Instagram, you can pause the video and scan this QR code. And we actually are giving right now a free website template for IG followers. They're beautiful websites. 100. Oh, actually, that Maya Glam is actually a custom site. So that's not one of our templates, but the other ones are templates. But we've got quite a few. I think we've got like 35 templates or something for wedding pros. So all you need to do is follow us and DM us, and then we will send you a link and a coupon code. We sell them for $199. So if you're looking for a website and you need one on a budget, follow us on Instagram or just follow us anyways too. So here, actually, you're already on this page. So never mind on this one. This just probably takes you right to the page that you're already on. So this was for attendees. I don't know that we'll necessarily be having this special, but I want to put it in here anyways. This is kind of where I have all my consulting clients start, and that is with a business success blueprint. So what this does is I'm going to have you fill out a questionnaire. I'm going to ask you all about those different pillars of your business, brand, systems, marketing, growth, your team, if you have one. I'm going to take a look at your socials, your website, look over your intake form, and then we're going to talk for 90 minutes. I'm going to really give you a really clear-cut strategy of what you should do first, second, and third. You also get 30 days of check-ins with me. And then if you're interested, never any pressure, but after that session, then we can talk about if you wanted to do some consulting moving forward. So if you're interested in that, check out our website or email me. Social media, we offer a few different packages, but I did highlight here our basic package, which is very, very reasonable. This is really, this package is ideally for someone who is like over social media. They know it's a necessary evil, but they don't want to break the bank and they just want to know that they've got quality, consistent content going out regularly. So if you need someone to help with your social media, obviously we're here for that. We do custom website design, and I mentioned templates. And then we also offer really affordable virtual assistants that do specialize in the wedding industry. So if you need some help in your business, if you're ready to stop doing all that boring day-to-day admin, definitely reach out. And that's it. So obviously this is not the live webinar. I had to re-record it. But this link here does go to a free consultation. So if you do want to talk to me about how I can help be of service to your business, or if you have any questions, you're always free to email me, gina@agabusinesssolutions.com. And thank you so much. Definitely follow us on Instagram. We give out lots of freebies, lots of free education, even little tidbits of education on our Instagram. And reach out if you need anything. Thank you so much.